following program is a presentation of Hall Sports Communications.
Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs, presents today's sports report. On today's program, we'll talk about University of Georgia football and more. And now, from the studios of UGA Football News on Facebook and Instagram, here's the host of today's sports report, Chris Hall.
Welcome to today's sports report on Facebook and Instagram, brought to you by UGA Football News on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Chris Hall, your host. And, of course, we do appreciate Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs, the number one team in the country. When it comes time to finance or refinance your home, go to southeastmortgage.com/UGA. And today we have with us, of course, Matthew Hall, styling, as always, and Rusty Mansell, recruiting analyst at CBS Sports, Georgia writer for 247sports.com, color analyst for Peachtree TV high school football games. And Rusty, my wife and I were talking the other day about, you're a slacker. You have too much free time on your hands. So we were going to develop a soap opera based on the University of Georgia, and we were going to call it as the dog howls. And we were going to cast you as the character who is the lovable evil guy. You know, in every one of those soap operas, you got the bad guy who's a good guy, really.
Yeah.
So don't you think you could fit that? That would be good.
Absolutely. You know, I'm a father, so I know how to. Sometimes you got to have that angle, be the bad guy, so I can be loved and be the bad guy. So
there you go, good parent, bad parent, right?
Yeah, I've been well trained in that.
Oh, man. Well, speaking of, all that you do, you've been doing a great job. I watch your high school, the games that you guys have on Peachtree TV. Boy, and it looks like, you can tell when a guy's having fun. Mm-hmm. It looks like you're having a lot of fun in doing that. And I tell you what, there's some pretty good high school football played in the state of Georgia, and you're getting to see it up front and up close and personal. And so, what has surprised you? And now we're in the playoffs, of course, in Georgia football. What has surprised you about high school football in Georgia? And maybe something new that you've learned, if that's possible, about what's happening in high school football in Georgia.
Well, I can tell you on the football side of it, two things have really kind of opened my eyes. I didn't realize how much went into a TV production. I mean, we have a crew of like 20 people, and they show up. They have to get there on Friday. They had to get there on Friday at like 1 and start laying cables and wires. And I mean, those guys don't leave. Those guys don't leave until like 3 or 4 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah.
It's not like me and Brandon Adams show up, got some live mics and a couple of cameras. I mean, it's nuts, but they do a great job of that. But the amount of people that watch it, it's great for the state of Georgia now to have two major networks with us and GPB that do games, and it's just fun. This week we got a great game, man. We got the state championship rematch. We got Warner Robins at Cartersville. I live here in the Northwest Georgia area. I actually played against Cartersville in high school. That atmosphere is going to be crazy. Georgia fans will get a chance to watch one of the top 2023 defensive linemen in the country, Vic Burley, a young man out of Warner Robins that Georgia is really, really trying to land. Clemson is involved heavily there, Alabama. So, for that, it's great for exposure. But I think the best thing of all, Chris, I could say is there's been about 6 or 7 kids this year out of the 12 weeks that have just blown up with offers. And Jaden Harris, a young man that plays for Robert Edwards at Riverwood High School, and Robert had called me and said, hey, can we get this guy some offers, some exposure? I said, look, Robert, we're going to put him on TV and see what happens. And, man, he's had about 10 Power 5, Virginia, Maryland, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, everybody offered. And as a parent, Chris, as well, and what you do in your life, day-to-day life, the ability to help people like that, man, it's just a win-win. And that's incredible that we're able to do that.
Yeah, and if you're a good football player, and you get a little exposure. Colleges will come running. I mean, if they feel like if you can fit into their program, you can fit into their scheme, you're the kind of guy that they want. Yeah, man, they'll come running for you. Well, of course, let's first of all, we want to go back and talk about the Georgia-Tennessee. Great game for Georgia. You know what? I was a little nervous about it, and when Tennessee came out of the gates and scored that early touchdown, and there was all that excitement, I said, well, here we go. This is going to be a barn burner. Yeah. But then Georgia answered, and then the defense, as it always does, seemed to step up and do a great job. Tennessee has made advances, but you can tell, as with the other teams that Georgia has played, you can just tell the talent level. There is a gap. There's a gap between Georgia and Tennessee and Auburn and obviously Florida. And what in the world is going on that way with Florida? I mean, you can tell that recruiting matters. And Kirby Smart loves to he loves to recruit, and he's got his guys recruiting. Boy, you can really tell it. And you guys have Georgia now as I think the number one recruiting class projected for the next recruiting cycle. Yep. And of course, we got a couple of Florida flips. Sorry about that, Gators, to pile on to you. But just your observation of the Georgia-Tennessee game, I think that Tennessee is going to be making some progress. They've got a good coach. He's got that bare bones squad playing very well. Just your observation of Georgia and Tennessee and that the recent game for the Bulldogs.
I think every Georgia Bulldog fan watched that game and how you described it, a little bit nervous going into it because of the unknown. You didn't know how Georgia, that secondary was going to get tested for the first time. This is also a first time you've seen a fast-paced offense like this. This is Josh Heupel's introduction to the SEC. Georgia got their first shot at them. They carved Georgia up that first drive. Georgia looked off balance. Yep. They looked a play behind. I mean, they were dialed in there on that. But I said this going into that game. Two questions are going to be answered. We're going to find out how good Georgia's secondary is, and we're going to find out who their quarterback is, because they can say all these things, but the biggest sample size you give and what you're thinking in the coach's box is who plays on Saturday. Yeah. And they went with Stetson Bennett. It tells you that's their guy. And I think the Georgia secondary answered the call. Darian Kendrick had a big play. Keely Ringo had another big play. I thought Latavius Brenny. When I went back and watched the game, they went after Chris Smith and Latavius Brenny. And I think some teams are going to. I mean, I would take my chances against those guys than I would maybe Darian Kendrick and Keely Ringo. So they certainly answered the bell. And I just think that Georgia, I say it a lot, but I thought Kirby hit it, nail on the head the very first week. Either you're elite or you're not. Yeah. And every single week so far, that team has been elite defensively, and they've been pretty dadgum good offensively. And we'll see how much more they get offensively. I get some guys back. Arian Smith was that's the kid's snake bit, man. And that was the one I really felt like if they got him back, things were going to be different. But I think the two questions going into that game were how good was the secondary and who was their quarterback, and I think both of those got answered.
Yeah, and Channing Tindall. I mean, the dude showed up, a senior linebacker for Georgia. He was named the National Defensive Player of the Week. He had 8 tackles, 3 sacks, forced a fumble during Georgia's 41, or he has 3 career-high 3 sacks in the game, forced a fumble during Georgia's 41-17 win over Tennessee. Channing Tindall had a game. He had a game. He showed up and he, played very, very, very well. So Georgia, now here's my take on it. And now Georgia finishes, the season undefeated in the SEC. Of course, the championship game looms out there. So you knock off Tennessee. Now you got Charleston Southern, bless their hearts, coming for a money game to Athens, for the program. Then you got Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech, to put it kindly and not try to be too cruel, they're awful. And so you got Georgia now with the real possibility of going undefeated. And I think if they go into the SEC championship game, if they play Alabama, for instance, and that looks like it's going to be the case, even if they lose to Alabama, even if, and we don't want them to, and we think they're going to beat Alabama, but even if they lose Alabama, you got to put them in the playoffs, don't you? I think that win over Tennessee solidified their chance of going to the national playoffs. Whatever happens in the SEC championship game.
I think Oklahoma.
Am I right?
I think Oklahoma losing too.
Yeah.
Oklahoma losing. That takes that variable out. So it's really one of those years you got to find out who. But I think Georgia has earned that, what they've done. Not only what Georgia, they've dominated teams. Yeah. So you go in, and if they were to lose Alabama, their defense is good enough to keep them in any game. So I don't feel like Alabama's going to run through them if they were to beat Georgia. Just say Georgia had a bad day, and it didn't happen for them. So I'm fairly confident that Georgia, barring something crazy, is going to be a playoff team. Now it goes to, can you knock Alabama out in the SEC championship? Can you knock them out for the whole year? There's a lot of questions to be answered. And it's crazy, man. That's like, what was that, 15 days, 16 days away now?
It's not long. 3 games and
that SEC
16 days.
Yeah, so that SEC championship is going to be. I heard somebody else on a podcast yesterday, and the guy said, "I don't care what anybody thinks. That's a national championship. Very well could be. Very well could be."
Yeah, and if Georgia does beat Alabama, and we hope they do, that effectively will knock Alabama out of the playoffs, don't you think?
It's
hard to see a two-loss team get it in there.
It's according to, if there's some upsets here or there. What if Georgia beats Alabama 21-20 and they kick a field goal to win it? The Texas A&M losing to Ole Miss really stings Alabama on that part of it. But I'm kind of that guy that says never say never with Bama. It could be. If somebody's going to be the first 2-loss team in, it might be Alabama.
It could be. And they would be deserving. I mean, they're obviously. They're right there with Georgia. Matthew, you want to jump in?
And nobody else wants them in. I can just tell you that. Nobody else wants Alabama in the Final Four other than Alabama fans.
Nick Saban, you're 70 years old. Yeah. Okay, go rest. Go rest. Matthew, you want to jump in?
I think Rusty's right. I think, especially in terms of the quarterback play, I think, you go with who got you there. It's unfortunate, with the JT Daniels injury, but you don't go take some guy that's you just don't go do it. Now, I've had people even on our Instagram page, and a lot of chatter even among fans on there that say, hey, JT Daniels should be in here. But look, just think of the absurdity of what it would be if today Kirby Smart came out today and said, okay, Stetson Bennett, you're number 2 now. JT Daniels back in as our starter. Well, the problem with that is you just took somebody that basically got you to an undefeated SEC season out of the game. And I think, in all honesty, the way I view it this year, Stetson Bennett, I saw a picture this morning of one of our former quarterback coaches it was an older picture. Jacob Beeson was there. Jay Fromm was there. You had a pile of other quarterbacks sitting there. And guess who was sitting there wearing the SEC championship shirt? Stetson Bennett, waiting his time. So to me, it's almost storybook in a way. If Georgia goes on to win this all, I believe, with Stetson Bennett at the helm after he left, played JUCO, come back. Look, there's no question. It's storybook. It's Cinderella story. Walk on.
Well, it'd be a Disney movie. It'd be a Disney movie, and Matthew could play Stetson Bennett in the Disney movie, and you could play Kirby Smart.
Say a prayer for my halftime speeches then.
Yeah. But the play of Stetson Bennett has really been impressive to me. It's a lot of grit. Look, the guy's used his legs when it has to be used to make plays.
And that's why he's number 1.
And he's having fun. Yeah. He's having fun doing it. There's no, he's locked in. He's dealt with pressure for a while now. And I just think it's his time, And I think here's what I really believe. I believe once he knew he was in there after this injury, I believe he was on a mission to not be replaced. I believe he's played that way. And I believe he wants to win the title for Georgia.
He's played very well.
Last shot for him. Now, don't hurt that we got the defense we have either now.
Yeah. I think the reason Stetson's number 1, I think, Rusty, is the fact that he can run. It's not his arm, it's his legs. And that kind of separates him from JT Daniels. Here's the thing. I think it has a lot to do with appearances. Stetson Bennett looks like a librarian. He looks like a kid going to the library. You know, he doesn't appear to be physically. He doesn't appear to be your prototypical college football quarterback. You know, JT Daniels, he's got more of that appearance, that vibe, and of course he's very able, and so it's kind of interesting. But Stetson, I think, has earned to be number one. Now, will JT Daniels be needed? CBS commentators last Saturday in the game said, there's going to come a time when Georgia will need JT Daniels to play, that they'll get into a situation where JT will step in. I think JT has handled this very well. I think he's got a horizon view of this, that he's looking to the NFL. He knows what the situation is now. I think he's trying to get healthy, the 100% healthy. I think he's handled this very well, don't you, Rusty? JT's done well.
Everything I've seen, the Facebook post, I think everybody's seen that Facebook post. You see him on the sidelines. He's the first person to talk to Stetson when he comes off. If you see every time they have a series, if something going to go well, everybody knows how smart JT Daniels. His football IQ is through the roof. So he talks with Stetson. What are you seeing? This is what I saw. It tells me he's bought in. I've heard Kirby Smart speak at a clinic one time, and he always used the example of Jacob Eason and what type of teammate he was when that went down with Jake Fromm. Yeah. And I think everybody has seen the picture of Jacob Eason waiting on Jake Fromm to come off the field in the national championship game. So those guys tend to become good teammates. They also know there's a bigger picture. Jacob Eason now on the NFL. JT Daniels certainly will get his chance in the NFL. And I understand why they're playing Stetson Bennett. I'm not in that meeting room. I see results. He brings a different package to the field than what JT Daniels does. Now, saying that, I totally agree with the CBS guys. I think at some point this year, with these remaining games, JT Daniels is going to be counted on to play some meaningful minutes for whatever reason. So I think they're trying to keep him engaged, keep him ready, because he is truly one play away from having the hopes and dreams of the Georgia Bulldogs, national championship hopes if he's playing quarterback. So, I've said all along, Stetson Bennett, it brings a little different package, but I don't think this is a situation where the Fromm Fields 2019, where they were just going with Fromm. They were going with Fromm. Right, they want to ride him to the end of the game. I think if something's not going well at some point, they know that JT Daniels is more than capable. So I don't know if that chapter's closed yet, but it seems like he's doing great as a great teammate, very supportive of Stetson Bennett. And I think Stetson Bennett's doing what he needs to do to win games at Georgia.
And, I think a lot of NFL teams really bank not only on ability, but also on character. And because they want a good character guy, especially a quarterback. Sure. And when they see JT Daniels as a good teammate, supporting Stetson Bennett, patiently waiting his time, staying engaged, not pouting on the sidelines, I think that means a lot. I think that means a lot. Well, Georgia will take on Charleston Southern after winning over Tennessee last week. Charleston Southern, I think they're 4-5, I believe. They beat Gardner-Webb last week in double overtime, 32-24. They're a part of the Southern Conference. And, of course, this is one of those games. Alabama had one with New Mexico State last week. This is one of those games. And it's kind of a breather. You don't assume anything, but I think the chances of Charleston Southern beating Georgia is, like nothing. But, it's a kind of a breather game. Do you think JT Daniels, you might see Stetson for a quarter? Are we going to see JT for maybe 3/4 of this game? What do you think about that?
I think all quarterbacks, I think you're going to see all of them if things go well.
Yeah.
Down to Brock Vandagriff. I call this a mama loves you game, because everybody gets to play and their mamas are happy.
Yeah.
So, and here's something that, you talk about. So Alabama played New Mexico State. They had their game last week. Well, now Alabama plays Arkansas. And then they play Auburn.
Yes.
They got two very physical games. You got an emotional rivalry game next week. Georgia's going to finish with Charleston Southern and Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Going into that SEC championship. So there's clearly, advantage there. With Georgia, this weekend is simply take care of business and not have one person in an injury tent today.
Yeah, get them healthy. And, with Georgia Tech, it's in Atlanta. And, it'll be at Georgia Tech, but there'll be more Georgia fans in the stands than will be Georgia Tech fans. So Georgia boys, and they're taking on Charleston Southern. And the TV thing is kind of weird. I don't think it's going to be actually on television. No. It's going to be on the internet, on ESPN Plus or something like that.
Yeah.
I wonder what the reasoning is behind that. I think they do that for different games. What is that about? You're a guru. You're a media guru. What is that about?
That's kind of one of those things from SEC Network going, okay, if you're going to play them, we're not putting it on.
I got you.
You're going to have to stream this one, and you can download the app. Everybody has to get an app this weekend.
Yeah.
So I think it's a perfect situation for Georgia fans to take their families. There's tickets everywhere. I see this.
It's senior day, right?
It's senior day.
Yeah.
It's crazy as it sounds, it's the last home game in Athens for this year. So
yeah.
Should be a beautiful day. I think it's a great opportunity to go out and see this team one last time in Sanford Stadium. And these seniors that came back, you look at these guys like Jordan Davis and, Devontae White and all those guys. And, be interested to see. I'm not sure if Stetson's got another year if he wants it. So
yeah,
it'd be interested to see if he does senior day.
JT as well, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So it'll be interested to see if those guys will do that. Coach, if it's we're not doing senior day, so we'll see. I know I think they're recognizing a lot of the 2020 kids, right? Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I understand. Yeah,
didn't get that, so I think that'll be cool too. So, good chance to go see these kids play. Not going to be on TV. It's going to be 1 million people on Twitter going, how do you watch where is the game? Like 12:05, people are going to be ticked when they find out you got to get an app and stream this thing.
So, but the stadium will be filled, and it will be a lot of fun, and recognizing the seniors. And I'm glad they're doing, bringing the guys back from the pandemic year. Mm-hmm. We all remember what Vanderbilt did. They kind of bailed on us on our senior day.
Oh my goodness.
And so we'll take a break with Southeast Mortgage, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Today's sports report will be right back after this message from Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs.
This is head coach Kirby Smart. It's my job to coach the fundamentals of football and prepare my guys for the future. Well, my friends at Southeast Mortgage are preparing you for your future by becoming a homeowner. Every Bulldog deserves a home. If you're in the market to purchase or refinance, I trust Southeast Mortgage to provide the best experience and get it done. Visit southeastmortgage.com/UGA to get pre-approved for your home loan today. Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Southeast Mortgage of Georgia Incorporated, NMLS, number 103956, Georgia Residential Mortgage License number 6578.
The only thing better than winning between the hedges on Saturday is coming home to this on Sunday. On the football field, I'm a coach. At home, I'm a dad. The field is where legends are made, where boys become men, dreams become reality, and teammates become family. Family is the most important thing. It's everything we have. And home is where a family's memories are made. So when the time comes to finance your home, make the smart choice and get your home loan with Southeast Mortgage.
Thank you for joining us, and welcome back to today's sports report.
All right, we're back here on today's sports report on UGA Football News on Facebook and Instagram. Well, Rusty, let's turn the page a little bit. Talk about recruiting. You're the recruiting guy for 247sports.com. You got Georgia number 1. Alabama, I think, is number 2. And then, let's see, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State, Texas, Oklahoma, Oregon, North Carolina. Pretty good lineup. Kind of the usual suspects you would have in recruiting rankings.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a good year for Georgia. You think they're going to end number 1, wind up number 1? They got some interesting prospects online looking at them. Mm-hmm. It would be great for them to have the number 1 recruiting class again. How do they do that? How does Georgia do that every year?
That starts at the top with Kirby Smart. Yeah. I mean, you have to be able to recruit. And I had a ex-staffer. I ran into him. I don't know where I ran into him at one day, and he said, "Man, Kirby will send texts at like 2:00 in the morning." And you're going, what is this dude doing? Like, he's like, "Hey, we got to make sure that I talk to this kid's mom tomorrow. Here's the window." At 2:00 in the morning. I mean, It is, if you cannot recruit, you don't stay on Kirby Smart's staff too long. That's just, right. It's about the Jimmies and Joes. I've heard him speak several times at the coaching clinics, and I think that paraphrasing the quote was, "I found something that I like more." He said, it got back to the point. Basically, he said, I'm going to recruit because the worst thing I hate about football is not having players.
Yeah.
And how do you get players is you recruit. And you got to, Georgia, it's an arms race. Everybody's doing this. Everybody's doing that. And Georgia just opened up a brand new facility, new weight room, new training room. They've got the underground treadmills, water now, treadmills. They've got the spa tubs with the raindrops that drop on you, So I remember talking to David Andrews, and David Andrews was here with Bill Belichick the time they worked out Sony Michel. And they're standing at the middle of the field of the indoor. And David Andrews was pointing at things and doing this, and Belichick's looking around, and I asked him later, so what were y'all talking about? And he was like, why do they need all this? They just need a practice thing. He goes, Coach, this is about recruiting.
Yes.
Because the New England Patriots indoor don't have anything but walls and insulation and a turf,
Yeah.
But here
got some duct tape. They got duct tape that will wrap you up if you get hurt.
Yeah. I mean, they gotta have, this is all about recruiting. And he's like, Belichick, and that tells you how different world he's in. Like,
yeah,
I couldn't imagine Belichick trying to do a junior day and visit with 15 sets of parents and having to show some personality. But, that tells you how different it is. And, what's expected under Kirby Smart to be able to recruit. That's his deal. And, obviously year 6 of him. Every single player on that team has been recruited by Kirby Smart except Julian Rochester.
Yeah, that's up.
So this is his team. And, if he can win the national championship, it's truly been his guys, his evaluations and how he's handled things. So this is a big year for Kirby. It's a big year for Georgia. This is as good as it gets right now. This has got a great opportunity to maybe close this thing out.
And it seems like it is the year for the University of Georgia. Mm-hmm. And, just one other thing, just thinking about Stetson Bennett and his ability to run. Todd Monken really likes that. I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if Monken really had that as something in his package, a running quarterback, before Stetson came along. Maybe he did. Maybe that was a part of his philosophy. But I think from now on, Georgia may be looking for some of those dual threat quarterbacks where you got good arm.
Yeah.
And Vandergriff can do I mean, he's a big dude, but he's got some wheels.
Gunnar Stockton. Somebody told me the other day, we were talking about Gunnar Stockton.
Yeah.
Man, Gunnar Stockton's a bigger Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
Yeah, man, he's been on fire.
And we got to keep those dudes happy, too. We got to keep... Close the portal. Close the portal is what I say.
And you got to make sure you get the right one. I can tell you that.
You better.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, get Rusty on this, but Gunnar Stockton is the all-time passing leader now, right?
I believe he is. I think there's one record left. I think he broke Deshaun Watson's touchdown records.
Yeah.
I think he broke Trevor Lawrence the amount of passing yards. There's one more major record. No, the passing yards are what's left. He needs 744 yards to pass it.
He can get that in one game. So that's
potentially he's got. I mean, I just talked to their staff this morning because we're trying to get them to TV at some point. But I'm gonna tell you now, they're playing Jeff Davis out of South Georgia this weekend.
Yeah.
Jeff Davis has only given up 5.4 points a game on defense. Yeah. So this is going to be a big, big game for Gunnar Stockton, Raven County this week. Because everybody's talking about Thomasville next week, which would be 1 versus 2.
Yeah.
Raven County's not looking. They're not looking ahead. They got a tough game this week. We'll see what Gunnar and those guys can do. 20-something seniors.
It's fun this time of the year. It is really fun. My dad, just very quickly, my dad loved basketball, high school basketball.
Yeah.
My dad would get me in the car, and we would drive to the Macon Coliseum to watch Class A, Class B, and Class C. Back when that was, you had AAA, AA, A, B, and C. And we would watch the state tournaments, and we had no connection with any of those teams. Yep. But my dad just loved high school basketball. And so we would drive to the Macon, back when they had it at the old Macon Coliseum thing,
Yeah. Well, my dad would. So unfortunately, at the time when I was in middle school, my high school wasn't very good. So growing up in the late 80s in Rome, West Rome, which won 4 state championships in a row, I got to see all the good games right here. I got to see Keith Henderson, who, by the way, played at Georgia.
Yeah.
I got to see him play West Strong one night. So, you know, when the playoffs got going, my dad, we would go in the car and jump in the car and go watch high school games, and kind of, you know, fueled me to love high school football, and fortunate enough to win a state championship my senior year. So that kind of definitely turned the switch on for me. And so I get to kind of relive that, going through it every year. I know the kids that win, I know how special that is, but the hardest thing, you know, I said it last week on TV, the hardest thing at this time of year is seeing those kids walk off for the last time, you know. So hope everybody enjoys this week. Hope everybody wins, but we're getting serious now.
It is. When it's over, it's over. You know, over. And the finality is there. Boom.
Yeah.
I think
it catches, and I don't mean to stop you on that, but I think a lot of it catches a lot of those players off guard too.
Yeah, you know, I kind of knew even then. Brandon Adams asked me on air last week. He said, "What were you thinking going to the playoffs?" And all I could think about, I just still remember, is I hope we practice next week, because I knew I wasn't going to be a college football player. I mean, I was a good high school football player, and I was not going to be a college football player. Yeah. So I knew this was it for me, and I just kept thinking, if I can. And Tuesday practice was rough for us. Yeah. I mean, it was rough, and I kept thinking, God, let me have one more Tuesday practice. Let me have one more Tuesday practice, and then you get to the goal. You know, this goal this week is for everybody to practice on Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's a big deal in the state of Georgia. If you're practicing on Thanksgiving, things have went well. So, you know, it's just a great experience. And I said this, and I'll say it 1,000,000 times over. Sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle, but high school football creates productive human beings. You learn how to you learn how to take commands. You learn how to be a part of a team. You learn how to handle yourself when you face adversity and all those things. And I think that's what gets lost is it's not everybody's not going to NFL and everybody's not going to college. Yeah. Enjoy Friday night. Enjoy Friday. And I'll give one last little quick story. My high school head coach played at University of Georgia, Lynn Honeycutt, in the early 70s. Yeah. Played a little bit in the NFL. And he told this to our team one time. He said, "It will never be the same. I don't care where you go in college. I don't care where you go to the NFL. It'll never be the same as playing in this community with your moms and dads who all bleed together, cry together, work together, and all these kids that go to school together. You know, that's what it's about." I think sometimes nowadays that gets lost. Yeah. But, you know, I think the football part of being good humans is why I love the sport, and I think it's the greatest sport on earth.
And, you know, high school sports will unify a community like almost nothing else.
Absolutely.
You know, the whatever race, color, whatever denomination, whatever social strata you're in, financial, when you rally around your team, that's your team.
1,000% agree.
That's
absolutely.
Good.
Spot on.
Couple of other things. You know, what in the world's happening in Florida? I know you're not a Florida kind of guy, but tell me, is Dan gone? Is he gone?
I don't see how he survives.
Here's what I'm thinking. If he could resign, he would resign, but he's waiting to be fired so he can get the payoff. Is that close? Is that right? So he can get the buyout?
Well, he's going to get the buyout. They just it was like Justin Fuentes from Virginia Tech. You know, he probably knew he was going to get fired, so he negotiated from $10 million to $8.75.
Bless his heart.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? 8.75, never come back in this office ever again.
I mean, are you kidding me?
Never park again. Never park here again. I thank you, and I'm out the door.
Thank you. See you later. See you on the golf course.
People would say, you know, because I'm from Rome. Will Muschamp's from Rome. I grew up with Will, played some sports with Will, played against Will. But you know, people sometimes they come to me and go, "Man, I feel bad for Will," and I'm like, "Do what?" Yeah. The dude's got $30 million.
I know.
He's coaching at the school that he loves.
And his son is on the team.
He's got a son on the team. He's got a son that's a really good sophomore quarterback at Athens Academy.
Cool.
Yeah. You know, Will, he's okay. You know what I mean?
He's good.
This is a pretty good chapter for Will Muschamp. You know?
If he takes me out for supper, he's paying.
There's no doubt. The word is Kirby Smart to make you split a check. He's a little tight, but
really?
They say he squeaks a little bit when he walks, but Will Muschamp, I would be certain. I know Will pretty good from this area, and you know, Will's got a son. Will Muschamp is a guy that you guys probably should know. He's a sophomore, got a little bit banged up this year. but he's going to be a prospect. Like, he's going to be a legit prospect. He'll be the guy moving forward to Athens Academy. He's a 2024 quarterback. I've had him in a couple of camps early, and he can spin it now. He's going to be a really recruitable player. So Will's going to go through that. But, being at Georgia, being in Athens, getting him and Kirby are extremely close. That's been well documented several times. So I know Will Muschamp probably goes home every night and goes, man, I'm so thankful to be here. And also, I got $30 million in my checking account. Thank you, Lord.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
So I think Dan's gone. And, I thought, I like Harrison at Auburn. And but
Harson,
boy, they disappointed me. Harson, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Boy, they disappointed me with Mississippi State. I thought, they've been so inconsistent. They have been so inconsistent as a football team. But when they play Alabama, and I believe it's in Tuscaloosa. Is that right? I think it's in Tuscaloosa.
No, they host it.
Oh,
yes,
they are.
Auburn.
See, that's going to be a thing there. I mean, they're going to rise up there. That will be an interesting game. I think Alabama will win, but
But Bo Nix not playing, I think, hurts that game.
Yeah, he broke a bone, didn't he?
Broke his ankle, So we'll see what TJ Finley can do. But Bo Nix he makes you hold your breath. Like, is he going to throw a pick? Is he going to make a great play? Is he going to, he's inconsistent. But I've said this on several podcasts. You talk about Auburn. When Auburn's been good, Auburn's had players from Georgia. And, the Derek Browns and all those guys. And right now, they really don't have those guys. And you credit Kirby Smart for winning a lot of head-to-head battles. Now, you're going to insert Mike Bobo, who's a very well-loved guy in the state of Georgia by these high school coaches. Can they win some battles to get some guys? He don't have to beat Georgia on everyone, but he needs to beat Florida State and South Georgia. He needs to beat Florida. He needs to beat Alabama on some of these guys. So not putting it all on Mike Bobo, but I'm saying for Harson's sake, not only get a good coach, he got a guy that's extremely connected in the state of Georgia. So we'll see how it goes forward. I don't think that Auburn's roster is where people really think it is, especially on the defensive side. They've never replaced Derek Brown and those guys from a couple years ago. And they were extremely good up front, as everybody knows what happened to Georgia down there in 2017.
That's right.
I think the footprint's there. I think two guys, long-term, I think Harson's going to do pretty good if they can recruit. And I love the hire of Josh Heupel. But getting back to Florida, Dan Mullen, I don't know, man. I just don't see it recruiting-wise. And you go back and look, Kyle Pitts, Jim McElwain. Kyle Trask, Jim McElwain. Kadarius Toney, Jim McElwain. He was playing with some other guys. Now this is his roster. So it's not looking so good right now.
When I look at like Auburn and I look at Tennessee and South Carolina, when you're down as a college football, a college football program, man, it's hard to get back up. Once you dip down, you lose a coach, you dip down, you're down for 2 or 3 years. Man, Heidi, it's hard to get back up to an elite level. If you get to an elite level, you need to stay there, right?
That's a great point. And think about this. The decision that Georgia made to fire Mark Richt. They win 10 games that year?
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, Georgia made the decision it's not good enough. We've got enough sample size. So that I know that had to be a hard decision. You come in and get Kirby Smart, he goes 8-5. But you take away the 2016 season, and then you start looking at numbers of what Kirby Smart's done, and it was the right decision. That's a great point, because if you get down to where you're 4-8, it's hard to come back from that. And what a great job, Sam Pittman. They were 0-16 in the SEC before he got there. This dude has got a chance to get them 8-4 and beat Mississippi State, beat Texas. They beat Texas A&M. They beat LSU on the road. A 2-point play from beating Ole Miss. It's just so what he's done, what Sam Pittman's done got Shane Beamer his job. So, we'll see some different, but there's a lot of jobs open, man. We talk about that in the next couple of pods. There's a lot of jobs open. It's very interesting how that thing's going to fill out this year.
I may send out some of my resumes,
Hey, but get that buyout.
All I want's the buyout. I always thought about, back in the day when boxing was really big, and Muhammad Ali and all those guys, they would say, well, the loser is going to get $1 million. If I would get in the ring, I'd let him knock me out for $1 million. That's what I always thought. Just one punch right there, I'm done, and we're good. I was looking over the SEC schedule for this, and we'll close with this, for this coming weekend. Not much going on, to be honest with you, in the SEC. New Mexico State at Kentucky, Charleston Southern at Georgia, Tennessee State at Mississippi State, Prairie View at Texas A&M, Arkansas and Alabama. Interesting game. That'll be an interesting game on CBS. Florida and Missouri. That may be an interesting game with the way Florida's. What in the world? Florida and Samford? What was 70-52, and then Florida celebrates after the game as if they've.
I would be if it was Georgia that had pulled that stunt and we were in the same position and you celebrated after a victory like that over Samford, I would be very upset.
Yeah.
Because it just does not look good.
It's a bad look. And listen, we don't have to really dig into the language because it was a locker room. But if you take the leaked audio from Kirby Smart and how he approached that second half of that Florida game, and then you look at leaked video of Florida jumping around in there, as a Florida fan, that would say, look, we got a world of difference.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy at Georgia is trying to rip our throats out, and we're dancing around because we beat Samford.
Yeah.
So it's
no disrespect to Samford,
right.
but
I mean, they know they've been there for a check. And by the way, Liam Welch, the kid that basically carved them up at quarterback, was from Aquinas, a little single A private school.
Yeah.
Liam, congratulations to him. And I know they were extremely proud of him. But
they were not intimidated one bit.
Oh, they went in
they played great. Let's see, Florida and Missouri. Auburn and South Carolina. Now, that may turn out to be an interesting game. South Carolina, Shane Beamer, I think, with what he's got, is doing a very good job with that South Carolina. I think Shane's going to do a good job at South Carolina. Got to give him, the 2 or 3, 4 seasons. But that might be interesting. Auburn at South Carolina.
Yeah,
kind of interesting.
You kind of see who's bought in. Who's still bought in, because Auburn blows a 28-3 lead, and they lose their quarterback, the guy that's a big leader on the team. So, how much juice does TJ Finley bring?
Yeah.
How much does Mike Bobo know about that roster that he was there for 1 year? So, but Shane Beamer's going to have his guy. They lost a tough one in Missouri. Shane Beamer's going to have his guys playing hard. This is a game, to me, Auburn should win, but we're going to see if they're bought in going into that Alabama game.
Yeah, I like Shane. I think Shane's going to do a good job at South Carolina. Vanderbilt at Ole Miss. I love Ole Miss. I mean, I like the guys. I like Ole Miss. And they're going to have a 10-win season, it looks like, maybe. I guess they're pretty close to it, right?
They should,
they still have to play Mississippi State. And Mississippi State, I mean, my word, the quarterback, just hello. Yes. South Alabama at Tennessee, and then you have UL Monroe at LSU. So, not the stellar schedule you would expect in the SEC. It's kind of like, let's relax a little bit.
Great reason to go to the game.
Yeah, and just enjoy it. Enjoy the atmosphere. The weather in Athens, I think, is going to be like 72 degrees, beautiful blue skies, a little coolish in the morning, but you know how we are in Georgia. We cool, then we warm up. Should be good.
I want to throw one thing in here real fast before we stop. Just because I had somebody mention it to me last night, and I didn't even think about this. But let's just say, and the likelihood of this happening is probably slim to none, of course, as we all would know. But if Alabama was to lose the next 2 games, then I heard that there would be a 3-way tie in the West, potentially. That
would be Ole Miss, Alabama.
Would it be A&M?
Could it be A&M? Because A&M lost to Mississippi. A&M lost to Arkansas. They lost to Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Auburn. So Auburn would be.
It would be chaos.
It'd be chaos. I think in that situation that I believe Alabama would still go. I believe. Yeah,
probably they have the tiebreakers.
If Texas A&M
I just thought that was pretty interesting.
If Texas A&M would have beat Ole Miss, that would have put the pressure on Alabama, because if Alabama lost to Auburn, it'd be Texas A&M and Georgia.
Yeah, so. Interesting. The college playoffs, if they happen today, you got Georgia number 1, Alabama number 2, Oregon 3, Ohio State 4, Cincinnati hanging out there at 5, Michigan State. I don't think, do you think Cincinnati would make it? I will close with this. Do you think Cincinnati would make it if you got one of those teams to stumble? I mean, would you put Cincinnati in the top 4 teams in the country?
You know what? The one thing I've told everybody's asked me that, I wouldn't worry about it, because you're in a situation with Georgia, and they control their own destiny.
Yeah.
So no matter, you got all these schools like, man, we need this team to lose, we need this team to win. Can we get? If you're a Georgia fan,
Georgia, we're good.
You just control, and God, that sounds like Kirby Smart. You just control what's in front of you.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. Whoever
right.
shows up, you just win that game. So you let everybody else argue on Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
Georgia's in a really good spot, and I think even if they do lose the SEC championship at this point, they're in. So you just worry about who's in front of you because you're going to be there and let all that other stuff play out. I think the most interesting game left for me right now would be Michigan State at Ohio State Saturday. And can that, if Ohio State were to lose that, boy, that throws a lot of different wrinkles and some things. But if Ohio State wins that, I think they'll beat Michigan. I think that you got two of the four locked in pretty good.
Yeah, and just quickly, I was watching the game on television this past Saturday, Georgia Tennessee. Kirby Smart worked so hard. He worked so hard on the sidelines. But those players for Georgia are having so much fun. I observed that, and I'm thinking, that's the way it ought to be. Those guys are enjoying what they're doing. They're having fun. The coach is having a heart attack. That's what coaches are supposed to do. But don't you think this Georgia team is having – I know that winning is fun. You have fun when you're winning. But they're just having a ball, aren't they, playing football?
They're bought in together, and I've heard that. I've heard that. I've heard that from the summer. This is, it starts with Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, and Jamari Salyer, and you hear in that again. I don't want to reference it, but you hear in that locker room talk. Kirby says, "Jamari, I love the way you didn't say anything, stay disciplined," and he goes, "JD, let's take a picture with that scoreboard afterwards." Yeah. So he's talking to his guys, Jordan Davis and Jamari Salyer, who control that locker room, who he counts on. So you look at all those guys. And when you have senior leadership like that, it's a really good recipe.
They're having fun. They're having fun. And I'm having fun with Rusty Mansell, the star of the coming soap opera as the Bulldog roars or barks or whatever. All right, Rusty Mansell, recruiting analyst for CBS Sports, Georgia writer for 247sports.com, color analyst for Peachtree TV High School football, and the dad for your daughter who's helping you out on those broadcasts. She does great.
She's making me look good for sure.
I mean, hey, she's a pro. She's already a pro. Yep. Thank you, Rusty, for being with us, okay? We appreciate it, right? Yeah, go Dogs. All right, Matthew, our final words, my man.
Always, go Dogs.
UGA Football News would like to thank Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs, for sponsoring our program today. When the time comes to finance or refinance your home, make the smart choice and get your home loan from Southeast Mortgage. Your friends at Southeast Mortgage are ready to help you. Visit southeastmortgage.com/UGA today for more information. This and previous editions of today's sports report can be found at UGA Football News on Facebook and Instagram, on many leading podcast apps, and at todaysportsreport.com. Be sure to join us for our next program as we keep you up to date with University of Georgia football and more. Until then, be safe and go Dogs.